hello, and welcome to VITA. I'm looking forward to you viewers having a very good time today and finding some very important messages out. I have my guest today in the studio, Nicole Jesser and John Baker. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Thank you.
Now, Nicole, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. I'm a grief counselor for Alive Hospice, and I work with children and adults. My background is in social work, and I've got my license in social work as well.
Okay. John?
Well, I'm also a grief counselor at the Grief Center at Alive Hospice. I've been there just a little over 17 years.
Wow.
And so I do a variety of things there, individual counseling. We do grief support groups and so on, which I imagine we'll talk more about. But I've been there a long time.
Great. Now, Nicole, you say you do child. Tell us a little bit about that. A child's maybe normal reaction to loss. Is that what you work with?
It is. I work with children who are grieving and adults, but specifically with children.
Wow.
What you can expect when a child has lost someone that they love, children respond more through play instead of talking. So
Really?
You can expect to see some of their grief reactions in play. A lot of times it'll come out in sickness because they don't know how to put words to the things that they're feeling. So that's normal. It would be normal for them to have some similar reactions to an adult, but it takes a longer period of time for a child to go through the grief than an adult.
Now, what age group are we talking about?
Usually 6 through teenagers.
6 through teenagers, really? That is, I know that has got to be rewarding, but as well as kind of challenging too, to try to help this child through probably devastating. And not only, you're talking about the child, maybe a death of a sibling, his sibling, or death of his parents or parent, or
it can
just
be any kind of loss.
Any kind of loss.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. That's, well, John, can you give us a description of the grieving process? What?
We could probably spend an awful long time talking about the grief process. Going to try and highlight some of the things that that would be typical in terms of the average person that calls the grief center and is asking about grief counseling. Mostly, what we will see at our center are, now we do offer services, I might add, for our hospice families. They are offered to come to the Grief Center if they should feel that they would like to have grief counseling. We, of course, as Alive Hospice, we care for a lot of people who are terminally ill. And so as part...
And that's what Alive Hospice is, kind of like the place where perhaps a terminally ill person would go to be comfortable, right, for their final.
Right. We have we have, of course, probably the majority of our patients are in their homes. They are referred by their physician. We do have a freestanding residence. We have 30 beds there. We also have now we have a Alive Hospice branch in Murfreesboro.
Wow.
We have opened a unit at St. Thomas Hospital, and we recently opened a unit out at Skyline in Madison. So we have these very different locations where if people, for whatever reason, can't stay in their homes, they can go to one of these facilities for pain control, or they can remain there through the rest of their days if they should choose to do that.
Okay, so you do have then the facility that can facilitate the comfort of a loved one.
Yes.
And then also their families can request that they be there if the family, you know, can't house them.
Right. And so in terms of the grief process for people, now we also serve people at the Grief Center who had no affiliation with Alive Hospice, people who have lost a loved one due to just a sudden event. Now, they may have had a disease but never made it into hospice care. So those people, of course, are welcome to come to the Grief Center to address the issues of their loss. People who are part of a live hospice in terms of their care during their illness, they do receive a treatment team. They have a social worker, of course they have a nurse, they have a chaplain if they should want, they have a home health aide, they have volunteers available to help the family, assist them through this whole process.
Wow.
Getting back to the grief issue, people by and large often are hesitant, perhaps. We do encourage part of our hospice families to call the Grief Center after they've had a loss to address issues that, well, they may not be having an extremely difficult time at first, but just to be able to talk about what they've gone through. And as far as people who've had a sudden loss, whether it's been a spouse, a sibling.
That's what I was going to ask you about sometime, how that you interact with the families that maybe suddenly and especially maybe even violently, because you know, and as you hear in our news media much too much nowadays, a lot of violent acts are going on. People are killing people, and these people are not nondescript people. These are people with families.
Yes. Yes. And I'll certainly let Nicole address the issue. We do have a camp in which we pair up with the Victim Intervention Program for children.